So today I'm gonna make a little shelf for the kettlebells, just because I took the rack that was right here, and this rack used to hold all the kettlebells, all of our gloves, all of our shin pads, everything, all the, like the little things that we have. But I took it out so I can make some more space for hopefully a GHD. So right now everything is just on the floor. Let me show you guys. So everything is just right here. Our gloves are right there. All of our little things are just scattered around. So this shelf, actually it's gonna be a couple of shelves, right? It should be 3. One is gonna be right here, another one over here, and then one right here. And then the first, or I guess the bottom 2 are gonna be for the kettlebells. And then the top one's gonna be for all of our little things that we have. So let's get to it. And then the way I'm gonna make it is, it's pretty much just gonna be exactly like I made this towel bin. So it's gonna be a stud, a little 2x4 that is attached to both of these studs, and then just a piece of plywood, and that should be it. And then so what I decided to do is I decided to make each shelf kind of come out a little bit more over the top one. So it's kind of gonna be like a ladder. So this first one is gonna be right under this, just because we're not putting any kettlebells up here, so it's fine if it's just kind of like inside there. But the next one down is gonna kind of come out a little bit more. So I think this right here, it's kind of protruding out 16 inches. So this one's gonna be 16 inches too. I think the bottom one's gonna be 21 inches, and then this one's gonna be 24 inches, just so it's even with this over here. But just the reason I'm doing that is because over here, since these racks are, you know, there's enough space from the bottom to the top right here, fit your whole hand in and set the kettlebell down. But since we're making these a little bit tighter in terms of how spread apart they are, we'll have a little bit of step, just so that when we do put it back in, our hand won't be hitting the shelf that's on top of it. So right now, I'm gonna cut 2 pieces of 2x4 at 20 inches, and then we'll go ahead and screw those into the wall and see how that looks. We have 2 pieces of 2x4 cut at 22 inches in length. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fasten them, one on each beam over here, or stud. I'm not sure what to call it, honestly. Is it a stud or a beam? Comment down below. But I'm gonna fasten them pretty much the same way I did with that over there. So let's go ahead and do that. To fasten this, I'm gonna use some of these Simpson screws. They use these in construction. I think these are for brackets. If you don't know what brackets are, I think that's what those right there are called, those metal plates. But I'm gonna use these thick screws right here because they're really, really strong. And then I'm gonna use just a couple of these just to make sure they're in there nicely. All right, so there's 3 in there, 2 of the big ones and 1 of the small ones. And it still moves a little bit. So we are gonna put a 2x4 going to the floor, but I'm gonna do the same thing I did to this one onto this other one over here. So after I put this one in, I ended up trying this one in the other way. So instead of going up and down, I put it flat, and it turns out they're a lot more stable like that. Another thing it does is it makes it lower to the floor. That way we have a little bit more room in between shelves. But man, this right here is way stronger than that one was sideways attached to the beam. So now I'm gonna cut a piece of 3/4 of an inch plywood. I'm gonna go ahead and measure how long I need it to be, and then we'll go ahead and cut it out and screw it onto these right here. All right, so I'm gonna do to this piece of plywood and all the rest what I do to all my other stuff, which is I use a router on the edge just to make it, just to give a little round edge, and then I sand them down and I just put a little stain on them. They end up looking a little bit like this right here. So if it'll focus, you can see it kind of has a rounded edge to it, and then it has a little bit of gloss. It's a semi-gloss polyurethane stain, just so they don't get dirty or anything like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that to this one, and we'll go ahead and make all the other shelves. All right, so now that we have our base, I'm gonna go ahead and screw in the piece of plywood to the top of the base. I went ahead and screwed our shelf to the top base, And back here I put 2 and 2 just regular screws. What? I put 2 regular screws, and then as we got more towards the front where you could actually see it, I put 2 finishing screws. So the only difference between finishing screws and just regular screws are that finishing screws have a smaller head, if you could see that, and they're Torx. So you could see the difference in the head, the difference in size of the heads. So it'll focus, there you go. So yeah, but what I realized is that when I put a weight on the edge, it bends a little bit too much for my liking. So I'm gonna go ahead and put another piece of 2x4 right around here, just to add some more support to this to the edges of the shelf. So there it is, and now we'll just go ahead and screw it in, and I'm gonna use those same finishing screws to screw it in. So there it is, and it's nice and secure. Now we'll go ahead and put that one in. And there it is. So now it's all nice and stapled. I'm gonna go ahead and put in the other shelves first, and then we'll finish them off with some polyurethane coating. All right, you guys, so I went ahead and I put 2 more 2x4s and attached them to the wall. This time I put them vertically, and then I put 2 of those screws on each side, and they're pretty secure over here. But I think what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna end up putting 2 posts that run from right here down to over here, just to add a little more stability to the second shelf. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the actual shelf, and we'll go ahead and fasten it onto the beams. So I ended up putting the top shelf onto it, and I realized that once I put the weight, it bent a little bit too much, especially from right here in the middle. So I ended up putting those 2 posts that I told you guys I was gonna put, and then I ended up adding 3 more. So one over here to support this ledge so that it doesn't bend anymore. One in the middle because it would actually curve downwards, and I didn't like that because I felt like over time it would break. And then I put another one over here for this other side. So there is our 2 shelves. Now we're gonna go ahead and build 1 more. So I ended up cutting 2 2x4s at 16 inches in length, and I'm gonna show you guys how I taper them out, just like I did on these over here. Like I told you guys, I just did it so that it allows a little bit more space in between the shelves. That way you're not hitting your hand when you're putting things back or anything like that. So let me show you guys how I do that. So there's one, and I'm gonna just try doing the other one, just a straight cut, and see how that turns out. I did a plunge cut just because I felt like I would get a straighter line. So that actually didn't come out too bad. I think there was a knot in here or something. I think it was this, I'm not sure, but it kind of dragged a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and screw these into the wall, and then we'll cut the top shelf out and we'll screw it in. And then one more thing, I'm just gonna go ahead and router out the edges, just on the areas that you can see from the outside, just like I did on that one right there, and then we'll go ahead and screw them into the wall. Alright you guys, so there it is, and I actually ended up cutting these to 15 inches just because I tested it out, and I put the weight right here and it was almost touching the weight. So cutting it 1 more inch allows me a little bit more space to re-rack the kettlebells. But now we're gonna go ahead and cut out the actual shelf, and we'll go ahead and stick it on top. Alright, so there are the 3 shelves. The top one doesn't really need pillars because it's not gonna be holding as much weight as the bottom 2. But now all that's left to do is sand them down and put a layer of polyurethane stain on it, and they'll be all set. So there it is after being sanded and after 2 coats of polyurethane. So let's go ahead and put all these weights on it. Alright you guys, so there it is. It fits pretty much all the kettlebells. I would have liked for these 15 kettlebells or 15-pound kettlebells to go down here, but as you can see there's no space for them. But it doesn't really matter. I'm okay with them being up there. Up here we have all of our little things that we have. You can see I put the parallettes on the side, and then bottom 2 shelves have the kettlebells. And actually I put my cousin's shin pads back there just because it took a little bit too much space up here. But there it is, man. So there it is, you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like. This is me like 2 days later after the day we started, so it did take a while. So make sure you drop a like, comment what you guys want to see next, if you guys will be making this, and if you guys have any questions about how to make this, and make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one.